Here we are for another round of the 70s versus the 90s, and let's see how sinister Gene Hackman can be when I put Don Medford's The Hunting Party versus Sam Raimi's The Quick and the Dead. And like I said, let's see how sinister Gene Hackman can be. First off, we have Don Medford's The Hunting Party, starring Oliver Reed, Candice Bergen, and Gene Hackman. And the film is, it's a weird kind of psychosexual drama in the desert type thing. At this point in time in the late 60s, early 70s, this film was made in 1971. So it was in the period of the revisionist Western, and Westerns were tackling a lot heavier themes than they usually did, just kind of like, maybe, just talked about, but here we're not only dealing with, ultra violence, but we're dealing with, fucking the sex shit, because the film opens with one of the most heavy-handed, like, cinematic metaphors I've seen in a while. You see Oliver Reed's character, basically like, cutting up a cow for meat, and then, it's intercut with Gene Hackman banging his wife, played by Candice Bergen, and, it seems to be very strenuous, as you can tell from her point of view. And, and it's revealed later, too, that Gene Hackman's character is a sadistic fuck. A rich guy, cattle baron, usually it's the rich ones that have the weirdest proclivities, some shit, some type of control thing that they need to have. And, as is revealed later in that scene with the Asian prostitute and then the fucking candelabra, it was just, yeah. So, but Candice Bergen's character ends up, while her husband, played by Gene Hackman, goes away on some little retreat on a train with a bunch of his other rich buddies, and they got, whores on the train, and they're just it's just debauchery central and shit. But then Oliver Reed's character, his band of outlaws roll through, and they fucking kidnap Candice Bergen just so, like, she can teach him to read, and that may sound silly, but it's like, it's just the way, like, some of these, Westerns were at this time, it's like, so, but it kind of works in a weird way, LQ Jones, one of the members of the gang, he's real rapey in it. He tries to rape Candice Bergen at least twice in the movie, and Oliver Reed has to, like, pull him off twice and shit. She ends up stabbing him the second time and shit. So, but Oliver Reed is the only one that really, like, can fuck her properly, in weird way, and there's still that sort of defiance. It's a weird, like I said, weird psychosexual drama, and Oliver Reed is one of the great actors. Like, his, like, accent in this is so good. It almost sounds dubbed, but there's a certain, quality in Oliver Reed's voice. You can just tell that it's him. You don't hear it all the time, but it'll come up just enough for you to know that, this motherfucker was great. And he was really doing his voice. And, Candice Bergen is great in it too, but in a way it feels kind of poorly miscast. And at times, the film doesn't really know what it wants to be, because there's a lot of comedic moments in it. The scene under the wagon with the peaches, they're trying to make Candice Bergen eat, trying to teach him to read and shit, and in a way that she ends up falling in love with, Oliver Reed's character, kind of a Stockholm syndrome type thing, but what's weird about The Hunting Party is that it's where what should be the snarling outlaw is really the sympathetic hero, and, the fucking, the cuckold husband should be the hero trying to rescue the damsel from the fucking beast. But instead, he's the vicious villain, because the movie itself turns into the most dangerous game in the Old West. And, because Gene Hackman's, I'll be damned if I'll pay a ransom, for my wife is going to end up pregnant with some bastards or outlaws bastard. And, and so I'll just pick them off one by one. He's got this very impressive long gun, can shoot further than anything. And he's just picking them off one by one. And, his buddies are into it when they're winning, but when they start fucking getting killed, then they're like, oh, no, this is real now, but Gene Hackman, man, he's in it to win it. And, it goes the whole way, and honestly, it's a very strong ending in that they all die, but it's executed in a way that is fucking annoying as shit. It's just, I feel like there could have been more, but like Don Medford was like mostly a TV director, and clearly somebody that knew westerns, knows the look, the rhythm, and the style, but really not equipped to deal with the types of themes that were in this film. Honestly, Peckinpah would have been better suited to direct a film like this, but he probably would have scoffed at the material, But then moving forward to Sinister Gene Hackman, we have Sam Raimi's The Quick and the Dead, which is like, for Corbucci on speed, like the film centers around, Sharon Stone. She comes into town, kind of like a very Clint Eastwood type presence. That's where the echoes of Leone as well. And, especially A Fistful of Dollars, kind of A Fistful of Dollars meets Django and Once Upon a Time in the West. Very much like honestly, a love song to spaghetti westerns, even more so than Tarantino's Kill Bill. But Sharon Stone, she's clearly got revenge on her mind, and there's some like contest going on with a shooting contest and shit. And Gene Hackman's the fucking dude, the rich dude that runs the town and shit, owns everything, and real piece of shit. You got the little young slick dick gunfighter played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and then Russell Crowe's in it with playing a fucking reformed outlaw, but then Gene Hackman forces him to be in the contest, and the other motherfuckers. It's just a bevy of Western character actors like Pat Hingle, Woody Strode, Lance Henriksen, and even Keith David is fucking brilliant in this. Like everybody in it is just having fun, chewing on the scenery. Tobin Bell is in it, fucking. But it's just like Sam Raimi is one of the most fun directors, and to see him do a western, especially something that's along the lines of like a spaghetti western, but then with his own brand of cartoonish violence and stuff. And honestly, like Gene Hackman is even more sinister in this movie because like he doesn't really have a reason to be in the hunting party. You can kind of understand his madness because his wife has been kidnapped, probably getting banged by all these outlaws, and he's just, that's all he can think about, like the whole movie centered on sex. But what's brilliant though with The Quick and the Dead is it's not, of course, you got a female gunfighter, and of course DiCaprio's in it. He's gonna be trying to get pussy any way that he can and shit. But there's gonna be that element of like sex in it, and the obvious sexual tension between Sharon Stone's character and Russell Crowe's character. And then, of course, Gene Hackman always being a perv and a sleaze, when he needs to be or what wants to be. And, but everything's just so, like, honestly, I don't know if it's a perfect movie, but it's a near perfect movie because it's a gratifying revenge flick. It's fun, entertaining, tells a good story. The characters are, like, fully fledged. Like, it's a cartoon, but these characters are real. It's like, kind of like True Romance, realistic cinema, but it's still like a fantasy land type thing. And and of course, the acting is way better because kind of like with The Hunting Party, I feel like it's poorly miscast, where everybody's kind of doing their own thing. They're making it work to the best of their abilities. I feel like that one could have been done better, but I don't really see anybody else playing these parts as well as they did in The Quick and the Dead. And like I said, Gene Hackman is far more chilling and just making these motherfuckers kill each other. It's just fucking, dude, brutal shit, and like I said, but cartoonish. It's just, this round for me has got to go to The Quick and the Dead, so that's another one for the 90s. Anybody keeping score, that's 22-24. The 90s are up by 2. It's just this kind of fun shit. The thing about it is like with something like The Hunting Party, where you're trying to deal with themes that are heavier than they should be. Honestly, a lot more chilling than The Quick and the Dead. But there are moments where, like, even though it's like cartoonish fun type shit, you're like, dude, this is some fucked up shit. Like the flashback scene where you find out why Sharon Stone's character wants to kill Gene Hackman's character is because she as a kid forced her to like try to shoot the rope that had her father hung, and she ends up shooting him right in the forehead, and that's fucking like devastating shit. Honestly, that's why The Quick and the Dead wins. It is far more. I take that it is far more devastating and fucked up than The Hunting Party is. It doesn't even try to dive into the psychosexual themes. It's like people they'll fuck or what. There are some other elements like it's really a lot of like how Corbucci's films were where they dealt with some heavy shit while also like showing you some fucking badassery. So 90s up by two, it's one of the, man, they really been kicking ass. It's been neck and neck. 70s could always come back, who knows. But like I said, I'm just having fun with this. I have no life, that's why I do this shit. Trying to like sketch out the fucking doctoral thesis on which decade was better, and really just to look at like how both decades, reflected each other, everything. But then again, everything's cyclical, that kind of shit, kind of like Revenge. It's a dish best served cold, and like day old pizza and shit, but who the fuck knows? Like I said, these bonus rounds will pop up too. And if you got any suggestions, comments, whatever the fuck, eviscerate me. I don't, at this point, who really gives a fuck? It's just it's one man's insanity and shit. And, and plus, let Gene Hackman really shine as a villain, like he when you give him a real meaty villainous role, and like, and he's great in The Hunting Party too, but like, dude, I don't really think, other than maybe Unforgiven, I don't think he was like more chilling as a villain. It's like fucking intensity. Rest in peace, Gene Hackman. Of course, a great actor, one of the greatest actors to ever hit the screen. And so stay tuned for more. Like I said, straight up sizzling. The summer's almost over, but this shit's heating up.